Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me, as always, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we went from one writer, director, star thing in A Real Pain a couple weeks ago to another one here with That Thing You Do. We picked it because you alluded to it being a certified Abbott Family Classic. Am I correct in that?
That is correct, yeah.
Nature? Yeah.
I have a little bit more about that after you do the intro and everything.
Sure.
But, yeah.
So we the tail end of last week's episode, it was, we didn't think about what we're going to do for this week after we did our little Spider-Man stuff. And we landed on it in the end of the show. I have a similar thing this week, but I do have 3 options that I'll throw your way when we get to the end in terms of what we do for next week's show. But our history lesson here, That Thing You Do, another avenue from the Hulu side of Disney Plus here. Originally released October 4th, 1996. Other releases of the time, we had Matilda, had come out August 2nd, 1996. We had the Robin Williams vehicle Jack, as well as Escape from L.A. on August 9th. Aladdin and the King of Thieves, August 13th, another Robin Williams joint, the third of the animated Aladdin films. A Very Brady sequel, August 23rd. Fly Away Home with Anna Paquin on September 13th. The First Wives Club, September 20th.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Which we spoke of, I think, previously when we did something here from 1996, because we're not going to really be able to do some of our, one of our, hey, let's guess the top 10 movies of this year, because we've already done it. We've already done this year's top 10. That Thing You Do came out right alongside D3 The Mighty Ducks on October 4th. It was followed up by The Long Kiss Goodnight, October 11th. Swingers on October 18th. Romeo plus Juliet, a.k.a. the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, November 1st. Space Jam, November 15th. The combination of Jingle All the Way and Star Trek First Contact on November 22nd. And the last trio that I threw in here from November 27th was the live-action 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close, The Crucible, and Sling Blade.
Sling Blade, huh?
Sling Blade, yep. Get them French fried potatoes.
The
The box office history here, That Thing You Do did $25.8 million domestically. Where do you think that falls in the overall domestic chart, Cameron?
You said 28 point, how much?
25.8 million. I'll give you the pinnacle of this year was Independence Day at number 1, 306 million.
Yeah, we're talking probably in the hundreds range.
No, not that far.
Not that far. Okay, cool. 86.
86 happens to have been Bed of Roses by New Line Cinema, 18.9 million. So we did better than 86.
86. Okay,
let's right above Kazam.
Shout out to Kazam. Shaquille O'Neal.
The Shaquille O'Neal genie film. Yeah.
Yep. And also tie into that is also the weird
the Sinbad Shazam,
which doesn't exist.
Yeah. No.
Proof that we have all somebody altered the timeline and we all remember this movie that doesn't actually exist.
I don't recall any. I never that was always a weird one for me. I'm like, are you talking about the Shaq movie, Kazam?
No, because I remembered both films. That's the thing. I remember both films vividly.
You clearly don't,
and I can't because it doesn't exist. Anyway.
So we're better than.
Let's go 69. Nice.
69 was the movie that came out alongside this one, D3 The Mighty Ducks, at 22.9 million. So
did better than D3. Nice.
Did better than The Mighty Ducks 3, yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and say 65.
65 was Kingpin, 25.0 million.
Oh.
So we're still trying to get up to 25.8 million.
63?
63 was Escape from L.A., 25.4 million.
Ooh, 60.
60 was That Thing You Do.
Let's go. Top 60 movies of the year. Nice.
Yep.
It is stacked year too. 1996 is no joke.
Yeah, as a refresher for whenever we did this last, Number 11 was The First Wives Club. Number 10 was A Time to Kill. Number 9, The Birdcage. Number 8, The Nutty Professor. Number 7, The Rock. Number 6, 101 Dalmatians. Number 5, Ransom. Number 4, Jerry Maguire. Number 3, Mission Impossible. Number 2, the original Twister. And number 1, Independence Day.
That's a stacked top 10.
It did also have a little bit of a worldwide release, brought in a few more million there. So it had 34.5 million overall worldwide. Okay. So where do you think it lands on the worldwide box office chart here in 1996?
This is pre the big China cinema days where that would you'd get some of those filtering into the worldwide. I'm going to go ahead and say 55.
55 was a thin line between Love and Hate at 34.8 million.
So it's going to be
a little bit better than That Thing You Do here.
Yeah. Okay. So 58.
58. This was probably the last time we actually talked about this. 58 was Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
34.3 million.
So 57?
57 is That Thing You Do.
There we go.
34.5.
Actually, I think I brought up That Thing You Do when we were trying to do I was trying to guess Muppet Treasure Island and worldwide.
Yeah, we might have landed right on That Thing You Do at the time, yeah. Some fun box office stuff there. It was like when I first did this, I was like, wait, how did it do better on the worldwide charts than on the domestic? And I was like, oh wait, because it did actually bring in a little bit of worldwide money.
Yep.
So it kicked it up over some films like Muppet Treasure Island that did not have a worldwide release. Like Muppet Treasure Island on the domestic was 43 on the domestic chart, but because it didn't have a worldwide gross to help impact it, it was just that 34 million in both camps.
Yep.
Our runtime here of That Thing You Do, 1 hour and 47 minutes. In the 20th Century Fox timeline of things, I basically pulled in a screenshot of the Wikipedia from their 1996 slate, and 1996 started in January with Dunstan Checks In. We had, I believe we talked about, we would have talked about this probably at the time, because we had February 9th was Broken Arrow. March 1st, 96 was Down Periscope. The Truth About Cats and Dogs in April. The Great White Hype in May. Independence Day, of course, July 3rd, 1996. Followed by Courage Under Fire, July 12th. Chain Reaction, August 2nd. That Thing You Do Here, October. Romeo and Juliet, which we mentioned, November 1st. And Jingle All the Way and Crucible in November on the 22nd and 27th, respectively. And One Fine Day on December 20th. And then just after, the next film in the slate, March 1997, was Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. And I was like, well,
I remember that, yeah.
I got to include that one, too.
Heck yeah.
That was a Fox movie around this time. So our roll call here, as I alluded to at the top, our director here, Tom Hanks, pulling a lot of double, triple duty here because he's the director, the writer, and obviously starring in it. This was his film directorial debut.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other film he really did after this was Larry Crown. But he'd also directed an episode of Tales from the Crypt, the 1993 TV series for A League of Their Own, Fallen Angels, From the Earth to the Moon, and an episode of Band of Brothers. As I said, Tom Hanks also the writer here. This was his writing debut. And his other written work after this was 4 episodes of From the Earth to the Moon, 1 episode of Band of Brothers, separate from the one he directed. So he wrote 1 episode, and then I think he directs episode 5 or something. Then he also wrote Larry Crown, Electric City, and most recently Greyhound. Our cast of characters: Tom Everett Scott as Guy Patterson. That Thing You Do, largely his big breakout. He'd done 1 or 2 minor things prior to this. I think he had a semi-recurring role on Grace Under Fire when this started, but this was very much his big first IMDb credit. Afterwards, he would go on and be in American Werewolf in Paris and a film like The Boiler Room. Done a lot of things over the years, but then the latest thing that really jumped out at me, and it was a fun little bit of trivia, was he was in La La Land, where he, as Mia's husband at the end of the film, goes back to the Blue Note, which he goes to in this film, but in that movie, it's with Ryan Gosling's character, when he's running the thing. So yeah, it's it's very much like a minor role, but it was a fun tie-in to the full circle of his jazz character. Liv Tyler, of course, here as Faye Dolan. That Thing You Do being her, I believe, first big film role, apart from like after kind of making a little bit of splash in her father's music videos for Aerosmith stuff. She'd then go on to be.
This was before Empire Records. Because I thought Empire Records was her big debut.
Maybe it may have just been that I didn't like flag Empire Records as like that's a thing I know.
Empire Records came out September 22nd, 1995.
Okay.
So
then yes, then I just didn't credit Empire Records because I didn't know what that was.
Empire Records is a really great film, but it is much more of like a bigger ensemble cast.
As is this. Yes, after this, she would go on to do Armageddon, and of course the Lord of the Rings movies, and The Incredible Hulk, where she was Betty Ross, and seemingly is going to be returning at long last to the role of Betty Ross in the Captain America Brave New World
film. She is?
I believe so, yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I liked her as Betty Ross. I thought she was
one
great.
Of those like long overdue returns, since obviously her dad is the president in this one. So yeah. Jonathan Sketch or Sketch, or Shake, I don't know how his last name is pronounced, apologies, plays Jimmy here, who after this film would go on to be in a TV movie, Houdini, as Harry Houdini himself. You also in Prom Night, Blue Ridge, the series, and he was Jonah Hex in the Arrowverse in a few episodes of like DC Legends of Tomorrow and stuff. Why did my screen go black? There we go. Steve Zahn is in here, of course, as Lenny, having been in stuff like this, Reality Bites, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, Treme, which he's phenomenal in as the follow-up series to The Wire about New Orleans post-Katrina. He's in The Good Dinosaur in the Pixar side of things. He was in War for the Planet of the Apes, and most recently he had a guest stint on, I think, the first season of White Lotus, some season of The White Lotus. Ethan Embry plays the bass player with no proper name. Also, of course, in projects like Vegas Vacation, Can't Hardly Wait, and Sweet Home Alabama.
He's also in Empire Records.
Okay, there you go. Tom Hanks as Mr. White. Having been in many, many things. The ones I called out here: Big, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, the Toy Story films, Saving Private Ryan, Castaway, and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Charlize Theron as Tina.
Yep.
In her theatrical debut, apart from an uncredited appearance in Children of the Corn 3. After this, she would go on to be in Mighty Joe Young. She would win an Academy Award for Monster, as well as projects like Aeon Flux, Hancock, Snow White and the Huntsman, Mad Max Fury Road, Atomic Blonde, and the Fast and Furious movies. And then she popped up in the MCU in the post-credits tease of Multiverse of Madness.
I love her. I love Charlize Theron.
Yeah, she's great. Oba Babatunde as Lamar, the doorman, in Dead Again, Life, How High, Black Dynamite, and I thought this one just called out to me. In the Kinect Star Wars game, he was Lando Calrissian.
Oh, okay.
He was the voice of Lando Calrissian in Kinect Star Wars. A flurry of little like cameo or very supporting roles here. We have Giovanni Ribisi as Chad, a.k.a. the original drummer that breaks his arm, hopping over the parking meters. Would also go on to be in something like Saving Private Ryan, among many other things.
Including Boiler Room.
Yep, as well.
He's actually the star of it.
Yep. Chris Ellis plays Horace, the first manager that they meet in the back of an RV. Another one of those like that guy actors in things like Armageddon and Apollo 13. Alex Rocco as Saul Seiler, a.k.a. Solly, the head of Playtone Records. Storied career over the years. The one I called out for him would be his appearance in The Godfather. Bill Cobbs as Del Paxton, another one of those like I've seen him in many a thing, but the Night in the Museum series is what I went ahead and threw for him. Peter Scolari as Troy Chesterfield, a humorous tie-in to Tom Hanks because they were in Bosom Buddies together. Yep. But Peter Scolari also storied career in Newhart. I grew up with him as like or Honey I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series. He's the dad in that. Rita Wilson as Marguerite, in addition to being Tom Hanks' partner, was also in Jingle All the Way this very year. Chris Isaac plays Uncle Bob, who stand out as a musician, Wicked Games kind of stuff. Kevin Pollak in there as Boss Vic Koss, another one of those. He's been in a ton of things, but Usual Suspects is probably the thing a lot of people recognize him from. Sean Whalen is the heckler, who is also like, the Wonders or the Oneaters big fan early on, was also in Twister around this time.
Neato!
Yep.
So great.
Clint Howard was the KJZZ DJ, which I loved that there was the KJZZ is in this because as is in the trivia on IMDb, KJZZ is basically our NPR station here in Arizona. KJazz. So yeah, it'd be NPR and then like jazz in the evenings. But I don't think it's supposed to be that station.
I don't think so.
It's just, hey, we're going to use jazz call letters. Of course, Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother / Lucky Charm cameo in a lot of Ron Howard's projects, who has, by the nature of that, also worked with Tom Hanks a number of times and was included here. Another one of the DJs we get in here, Paul Feig, the KMPC DJ we talked about a few months back when we did the Heavyweights episode.
Yep.
And then this was like the funniest surprise was Bryan Cranston as Virgil Gus Grissom, of course, from Breaking Bad. But yeah, this is, a 1996, this is the era where, he's, making a name for himself, starting to pop up. He had probably done a couple episodes of Power Rangers at the time, as we now know that he was, a big, did a lot and did kind of Monster of the Week things.
Yeah.
He probably also, made his cameo on Seinfeld.
I believe
that
this
I know
is
near and dear to a lot of people's hearts and stuff. But yeah, just seeing Bryan Cranston pop up and be like, holy shit, that's Bryan Cranston. Neat.
Yeah. Totally I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know he was in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like him and Charlize Theron. It was like, oh yeah, I've not watched this movie in a long time. This has got to be one of the first things Charlize Theron was in. Yeah. Some trivia for you. The song "That Thing You Do" was, of course, nominated for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards that year, with music and lyrics by Adam Schlesinger. Lost, sadly, to "You Must Love Me" from Evita by that hack Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. Tim Rice I'm fine with. I just have no patience for Andrew Lloyd Webber anymore.
I don't think have we ever talked about it? I also don't have any patience for Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I like some of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, but I fucking hate Cats with a vengeance.
Cats is literally the worst. So
the first Andrew Lloyd Webber show I ever saw live was the fucking Starlight Express.
Oh yeah, with the roller skates. Oh
yeah,
no,
I saw that at Gamage, and oh my god, it was terrible. And I was like,
no, we have, because you mentioned we've talked about this before about no, Andrew Lloyd Webber, friggin' hate him.
Yeah, no, we definitely would have talked about my hatred of Cats when Memory was a big set piece at the end of the Marvels.
I think that's when we brought it up. Yeah. It's like that the Marvels spoiler cast turned into like a half an hour of just hating Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the film debut of Tom Everett Scott. Tom Hanks was initially opposed to hiring Scott because of Scott's strong resemblance to a younger Hanks, but he was finally convinced by his wife, Rita Wilson, who thought Scott looked cute, which is like, well, yeah, you married the guy who's the older version of him, of course. Adam Schlesinger, the bassist of Fountains of Wayne, penned the title song in response to a contest being held by the studio when their song won, being used in the movie. The movie was released shortly after their first album. So it's a fun little timing thing of everything. Tom Hanks would go on to name his production company Playtown after the fictional record label in this film. Steve Zahn was the best man at Tom Everett Scott's wedding. And I'm like, oh, that's lovely. That's charming. The bass player, played by Ethan Embry, is never explicitly named. All references to him in the film are as the bass player, and in the credits he is listed as TB player. Mm-hmm. Ironically, the bass player that replaces TB at the end of the movie was given two names, Scott Pell and Wolfman. During the 20th anniversary celebration of That Thing You Do, Ethan Embry revealed what he felt the name of the musician would have been, Tobias, TB. I believe there's also something in there that was basically like, that was the name he gave himself on set just to keep himself grounded to. I've got to have a name, guys. My character's got to have a name. It's a fun gag for the movie, but I've got to have a name.
There's some, I will say, the writing around his name, getting around it, is brilliant.
Yeah.
It is top tier. How do you reference a character without having the name?
Yeah.
And
by the end, it's just people go through everybody else in the band and then throw Faye in there instead of the other guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say, as a former bass player, it hits home. People, nobody ever remembers the bass players. Just the way it is.
Tom Hanks named the beach band Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters after 2 seafood restaurants near Beaufort, South Carolina, where many scenes in Forrest Gump were filmed. Captain Geach's was on Ladies Island, but is now closed, as of whenever this was written. And the Shrimp Shack is still open for business on St. Helena Island. Again, can't verify that because I have no idea when that IMDb trivia nugget was actually put in there. But hey, if you can go to St. Helena Island and hit the Shrimp Shack, now you know that it was the basis for the name of the beach band in the film. And then lastly, this was news to me. I thought this was an interesting little nugget. The story of The Wonders continued in the liner notes for the film's soundtrack album. It was revealed that following the group's appearance on the Hollywood television showcase at the end of the film, That Thing You Do ended up rising to number 2 in Billboard. Jimmy's career with the Herdsmen, that is alluded to in the end credits bit, was also detailed excuse me, a little bit further, indicating that they recorded I Need You, That Thing You Do, and She Knows It, the songs that we hear over the movie's end credits. Liner's notes are attributed to A.M. White, as in Mr. White, who supposedly later became the president of the Playtone label. So I was like, oh, that's a fun little,
That's super cool.
You know, they kept the movie going on in the same way that this definitely was of the era. I remember there were things I knew about the Phantom Menace because I had read the
liners,
the movie version or the written version of the script of the Phantom Menace or something like that. Definitely a time when those kinds of things weren't just DVD Easter eggs or something like that.
Yep. Or just something that a producer or a director or actor puts out on social media.
Yeah.
Years later. Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I've got. Cam, I will throw it to you while I take a drink to clear my throat. Tell me about this being an Abbott Family Classic.
Trevor, I'm excited to tell you, this film is not just a certified Abbott Family Classic. It is also, the soundtrack is also a certified Abbott Family road trip soundtrack. My family, my family has
Did you just listen to That Thing You Do over and over again? Is this like a 500 miles,
no
kind of thing?
So That Thing You Do, this movie soundtrack, is built out with the songs in the entire movie from top to bottom.
Okay.
So you have...
I definitely found myself thinking, I wonder if they've tried to make this into a Broadway musical.
They could, easily.
Yeah. Definitely seems like it would be perfect fodder for, hey, let's do a Broadway musical version of this show,
like Tony Valley and Four Seasons type stuff. Or Jersey Boys is the musical anyway. To that point though, I will say the soundtrack is a banger. It covers basically every kind of sound music style from that the movie tries to capture, whether it's some of the more hokier songs to the more That Thing You Do. It has 2 versions of it. Not only was it when you have a soundtrack that becomes part of the Abbott Family road trip soundtrack, a song is dedicated in our family to each member of the family. And since you don't have it, let me pull this up here real quick.
Are you pulling up the soundtrack from the movie?
Yep, because I'm going to tell you the 15 songs that are on this soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Loving You Lots and Lots, That Thing You Do, A Little Wild One, Dance With Me Tonight, All My Only Dreams, I Need You, That Thing You Do, She Knows It, Mr. Downtown, Hold My Hand, You Hold My Heart.
Yeah, Hold My Hand, Hold My Heart. Yeah.
Voyage Around the Moon, My World Is Over, Drive Faster, Shrimp Shack, Time to Blow by Del Paxton, and That Thing You Do. I believe that is the proper one this band made.
Yeah, it's That Thing You Do. The first one is them doing it early in the movie, and then the track 15 is live at the Hollywood Television Showcase. Yep. So it's the end of the movie.
Yep. So Out of those songs, which do you think
Shrimp Shack. Shrimp Shack was you, obviously.
Nope.
No? All right. Yeah, I don't know. That's the one I would have guessed.
Because it's the goofiest? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it. This was a younger Cameron, though.
Sure. Yeah, so this is like neoconservative.
No, pre-neoconservative Cameron. This is young. Like, 1997, dude, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was a kid.
I don't know, Voyage Around the Moon?
Nope.
All right, just tell me.
Dance With Me Tonight.
Okay.
That's the one that they sing, that Zahn's character is the one that actually sings it.
Oh, okay.
He's the main lyricist for that, or the main vocalist for that track.
Yeah.
It was my personal favorite, followed up by Drive Faster by the Vicksburgs. My brother's was Mr. Downtown, because he was in choir at that point, and his voice had just dropped to like a deep bass voice, and so we used to joke by calling him Mr. Downtown, because of how low that song can get. And then my dad's was Loving You Lots and Lots, which is the very like do 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 do. It's played towards the beginning of the film. Anyway.
Yeah, I was like, Dance With Me Tonight. That's the one that is like, come on, pretty baby. Yeah, okay.
Put your little hand in mine.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Very Elvis coded on that one.
Very Elvis coded. Very Elvis coded. Yeah, that was my personal favorite, and the one like my family put towards me. But yeah, the hokiest song is Loving You Lots and Lots, and that was my dad, and he would sing it to my mom. And we would all laugh in the back of the van while my mom would just like be over the moon at my dad's like singing that's like that hokey folksy song to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun memories to the soundtrack. We used to, I've talked about it before, the little TV we'd strap to the cooler between my parents, the driver's and passenger side seat, and watch it on this little tiny screen that like always seems bigger in my memories than I know for a fact how small that TV was.
Sure, yeah. I've been writing through my my like 40 for 40 games stuff and talking like recalling memories of like road trips in the car where we had like a little TV that we had an NES hooked up to in our, big Explorer van. And yeah, it was the same kind of thing where it's like, God, this would have been like painstakingly small. Like, I get annoyed when something's like small on my 65-inch screen TV. How did I ever, deal with something on a 7-inch monitor or something like that?
No idea. Yeah. No idea, dude. It's kind of nuts to think about, but I just, this is a film that's near and dear to my heart. Watching it through, I sang along with every song. I still remember all the lyrics. It was so much fun watching this now as an adult, because it's been a good, I haven't watched it since I've been a teenager.
Uh-huh. I had a similar thing where the first time when they're at the talent show thing where Guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, like starts doing it faster, and everybody's like, no, you're going too fast. Like, I, as a drummer from like when I was a drummer in high school, just immediately fell into like doing his like head bob shake kind of stuff and like close my eyes, and was just like, I was in here like working a little bit on my writing while I had that playing on my phone, and just like, just kind of like conked out and was like, I'm just going to like turn into Guy for a minute here. And,
do you throw on your shades and did it?
I did not throw the shades on, but I was like drumming on my lap. I was doing like the drum pattern on my lap and stuff like that. And it's just like, yep. Like I didn't watch this movie a ton. Like I watched it a few times and enjoyed it like back when it had come out kind of thing. And we probably had it like on VHS or DVD or something in the Starkey family household. But like, I mean, this is 1996. I was 11. So I haven't I didn't start doing like drum set stuff until I was in middle school, which is still a few years away from this. And then really didn't get into like doing drum set stuff until high school. So it was just interesting that like I still had like that as a sense memory of like, I just like thought this guy was really cool when he's playing, he turns this into the song that it's going to be. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun to like just kind of just kind of go into autopilot and just let that vibe take over. Yeah, a lot of fun. So yeah, what like your first time kind of revisiting this as an adult, How did that feel? Like, were there things where I was like, oh, this didn't age well, or like
No.
for me, like
Yeah,
it was.
aged
I mean, like
incredibly-
in part because it is a like
Timepiece.
timepiece. That I was actually like, oh shit, like TB hooking up with like one of the Chanterelles and like falling in love, and it's like it certainly the movie doesn't like really like highlight it and bring it super to the forefront, but it is still like an interracial couple in the background of this 1960s,
Going through middle
America.
America state fairs.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Things I didn't notice was like the stark age differences of some of the like.
Yeah.
I remember Diane Dane being like, "Oh yeah, no, she's like, oh, she's like much older.
Yeah.
She's clearly like in her like late 30s, early 40s, and oh, like something clearly happens between her and Jimmy, and like when Diane was brought up later in the film, I'm just like, oh, yep. We are confirming it that Faye knows that Jimmy did something with Diane, and they've already talked about it, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah. And like there's that. There is the like Faye being very young. I mean, like Liv Tyler, I think was like 19 at the time.
Yeah.
So already like she already looks young, but then the idea that even that Guy has already done a tour in Germany and like come back.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely like older. He's he's a little bit older than the rest of the band kind of stuff.
It's interesting because I didn't notice it before. Before I was like, oh yeah, it's clear like they're like the setup. Oh, the guy like is gonna end up with her. It wasn't until when he walks into the diner and is sitting like behind them there at the table and he's at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice, and I picked up on him like he's had a thing for her for a long time. Was the thing I picked up on. Like when she says bye everybody, like bye, and she stops and she touches his shoulder, she goes bye guy, and he goes yeah bye, and it's done in like a like he's super cool beatnik cool guy, but when Faye's involved, all of a sudden like it flips the script and you can like there's something there. But for me personally, I look at it as like, I think she's a freshman. Maybe he's a senior in high school. He thinks there's too big of an age difference sort of a thing. There's that as a possibility. But also like, yeah, maybe like, obviously he's with Tina. Tina's looking at a bridal magazine at the dentist office. Like, they're a very serious couple.
Yeah.
And we find out from Guy's a straight shooter when it comes to like the women in his life. And because he has the opportunity with that one gal at the Vito Piano, or like what is it the restaurant?
Yeah,
the Italian place.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he does not think anything.
Yeah, Vito Piano. Yep.
Yeah, he does not think anything of like, oh yeah, she's a fan, she's cool, she's fun to talk to. Immediately, his girlfriend shows up. He gets stoked and he's excited, and it's like, okay, this is our protagonist, our hero.
That girl is flirting with him. He's not flirting with her. So when his partner shows up, he's like, and like when Steve Zahn's like, "Hey, is that your girlfriend over there?" He's like, "All right, bye." And then
are they serious?
That girl's just like, yeah, like not interested in Steve Zahn at all.
No,
I love that like there were so many that like I miss movies that were made like this.
Yes.
Like this we talk about it a lot, and we talk about it in the game space too. This is like a great like mid-tier movie. It's not super indie, but it's also not going to be the super blockbuster. And it just like it's doing a great thing in service of like all of its characters. That like I loved like having some vague recollection of by the end of this movie the bass player is replaced and something happens to him. And I love that like even in the earliest scenes we get with him, like he's like when they hear the song the first time, he's just enlisted. He's walking out of the recruitment center like in his
new jacket, his new
and like he's out there in meetings doing push-ups and like all of that is planted before he says, hey, I got to leave the band in August kind of thing. And we get like similar beats with a lot of those characters. We get a lot of that stuff with Steve Zahn of like him being like the hound dog kind of like swooner.
The
like,
attempted hound dog. Nobody ever goes for him. And then and then he ends up getting married in Vegas. And it's
and like all throughout the movie, Jimmy it keeps hounding and being like he hates that thing you do is the song that's breaking out. He always wants the B-side. He's annoyed that we only got one take of it. I want, like, can we go back and record another? He is always the talent, as Tom Hanks says at the end of the film.
First off, he has never liked how fast it got.
Oh yeah.
He's never liked how fast it got.
He never likes, poppy snappy things. Nope. He always wants to be doing the
crooning,
crooner,
the crooning, and it's clear he's somebody who thinks of himself as a romantic. We're introduced to him where we believe he is the romantic, but it turns out, especially in the end credits when we find out what happens to him, it's like, oh, this is a role you've been playing the entire time, because it turns out you are just like, you literally turn into Mr. White at the end, like you become a record producer, like you are the thing that you said you hated, which is it's perfect because it sets up his fall, right? It sets up that fame affects them all differently. Mm-hmm. In that finally Lenny feels attractive and that women want him. The bass player is like, oh, it's something I'm doing for my country, right? Like that's his small motivation that he has. Guy, he just is there to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I love I again kind of watching this and putting the doc together and seeing that connection to La La Land.
Yep.
I was like, this is absolutely making me think of La La Land, and La La Land, another one, La La Land being a good throwback to this kind of movie where it is it's a a mid-tier movie musical kind of thing. But they're it's a great character piece, and Guy's love for jazz throughout. I'm immediately thinking of Ryan Gosling's character the whole time through, kind of thing, and him going to the jazz club. I love Lamar testing him and being like, who's who played blah 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 in this, and him getting the right answer, and Lamar being like, all right, you know your stuff. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna give you the right answer and send you to the good place.
He says, "Get in the cab." What? Get in the cab.
Yeah.
Take this man to the blue spot.
Yeah.
And just also Lamar being
and him completely turning down Rita Wilson the whole time, and just wanting to talk to the jazz people.
He's talking to her, and this goes back to it. His intention is not to go home with her. His intention is to talk to this interesting person who's lived a very different life than him. He's from Erie, Pennsylvania. He knows he's from, the Eastern Pennsylvania, not much to talk about.
He is from the John Williams documentary. He is George Lucas being like, John Williams, the jazz musician?
Yeah, exactly. And so, because we get the hints early on, sprinkles it in.
Yeah.
Del Paxton, he goes down to the basement and he's playing the drums.
Yeah. Not the basement, at the store.
Oh, at the store's basement, though. He goes down the stairs to their storage basement. He's down there and he's playing that. He puts on the record player, plays the drums.
I love that he just never remembers to turn the lights off.
Yep, never remembers to turn the lights off.
Even that, I love...
Shoot, dude, when his dad goes in the middle of the night and it's just a cutaway scene.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
There's that. But I love even further, when they're on TV and the dad is playing it with the spoons and stuff. He
completely messing up the
shades.
Yeah, he puts on shades.
He puts the glasses on.
He doesn't know the song at all.
It's for as much guff as he gives his kid earlier in the film, he is so proud. He is such a proud dad in that moment.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment that, in a lot of other movies, that gets cut on the cutting room floor. That gets dropped. That's not in here. We don't see that kind of stuff. So I love that, even those kind of characters get arcs in this movie.
Shout out to also the busted arm of the former drum player.
Yep.
Getting Guy's old job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and still, because this whole thing happens over the course of 2 months.
Yep.
Still in a cast at the end of this movie. I also love him showing up at the talent show and being like, "That's too fast. He's doing it too fast." And then everybody goes nuts for it, and a guy bumps into him. And he's like, "Ah!"
And he exits the scene with that. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
This film is just really, it's an hour and 40 minutes, but it's so tight. It gets so much into that hour and 40 minutes. And I think that's part of what makes these kind of mid-tier budgeted movies work so well. Because you could do a mother movie for this type of budget and everything, but if it's not tight, if you don't have it just perfect, if you don't have the vision right, this is done by a writer, director, supporting cast member, but he is his vision. Tom Hanks has a vision, and he executes on it, and he keeps it tight at the point where like there's no like deleted scenes for this movie or anything. It's all like what you get.
There is I was reading, there is like an extended or director's cut-esque kind of thing that is another like this is about an hour 40, and I think the director's cut is like 2 hours 40 or something like that. It is
really,
or 220 maybe, I think.
I gotta check that out. That sounds awesome.
I mean, that's me pulling up the Wikipedia page and seeing running time 108 minutes, 148 minutes extended cut.
Okay.
So yeah, whatever the extended cut is, which was extended edition DVD in 2007. They released an extended edition DVD with deleted scenes included, and an additional 39 minutes of deleted scenes included in the film. So,
a tastefully steamy look at Guy's makeout session with Tina at his apartment is included.
There you go.
More into okay. I'm gonna watch this now because this sounds awesome.
Yeah, there was I had
gosh.
seen this in the. I think we're looking at the same thing. I had seen this in the trivia for this, where NFL defensive lineman Howie Long had a cameo in the film as a partner to Tom Hanks's character that does not make it and is on the cutting room floor. So that's a little bit of like, oh well, it could have been even more progressive if they had included that. But
for the time, and here's the thing, I'll let you know, but like with how the political climate was back then, may not be an Abbott Family certified Abbott Family Classic.
Sure,
if that was the case.
If that had been in there,
however, today it would be, thankfully, because progress.
There you go. Yeah. Well, another one I loved the when they're doing the KJZZ like interview. The Clint Howard says like, so who popped your cherry kind of thing, and I love
did not expect that.
I love the bass player being like, oh, the Chantranelles or whatever, or Chantralines. Completely missing the actual
which
point
also
of the question.
says something about like he says the Chantralines as all three of them.
Yeah. Anyway, loved that. I love the I love so much Guy's journey in this, and that he is the brains behind the thing, as Tom Hanks kind of calls out.
He's also the heart.
He's the smart one. I love that he's the one that gets Faye when she almost gets left behind. Like he goes back and grabs her, which is like there are plenty of moments that foreshadow the Faye and Guy partnering at the end. Like that being one of them. I love the little moment on the plane of like, I love that. Like it's set up a few scenes earlier where she's like got the runny nose and kind of like she's showing the signs of being sick. And again, going to like how much of a whirlwind this all is, that cold is going straight into Jimmy, blaming her for, puking from the nerves of being on the TV show.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like this is when we get to LA, we start really seeing Jimmy's real colors.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like he's been showing his real colors the whole movie.
Yeah, that's fair. Because he's self-obsessed. He sees himself as this great artist trapped in this small town.
Mm-hmm.
It's
all about my music. I want to make sure that my music and it's okay, but when are we getting back in the studio? When are we recording more?
I will say this. I also understand his like vendetta against Mr. White though, because Mr. White, I'm noticing like Mr. White does a lot of lies, not lies of commission, lies of omission. He tells a lot of lies, omitting certain factors and truth.
It was also fascinating watching this the week after the Grammys, and in particular, one of the things I saw out of the Grammys was the Chappell Roan speech about like, hey, fuck off labels, like you gotta watch our back, be better about that, and then just going right into this where a label is absolutely exploiting this little number one hit, and it's gonna be the number one the one hit wonders. And then they're gonna go on and go back to their lives. And I love
the promise. Hey, you're gonna get back into the studio. Okay, cool. You're gonna go back to the studio and you're gonna do
the songs that we tell you to do. Yeah.
You're going to cover songs from the Playtone catalog.
Yep.
After you record that thing you do in Spanish, and it's like,
read your contract, man.
You play what I tell you. Like you play and record what I tell you to play and record. Mm-hmm. And it's just so. That's the whole like I quit. I quit.
Yeah.
I quit, Mr. White.
Also, clearly did not, or like clearly Playtone held him to his contract,
Yep.
if not everybody else in the band, since he ends up being coming back as. And I love this little thing that I definitely hadn't caught before, that like the Herdsman was the name that he'd really been pushing for in the beginning, and everybody's like, "No, that sounds dumb, man."
Yep.
Like,
also, no, they mentioned, "Oh, we're gonna get a gold record. You have to sell 100,000 copies to get a gold record."
mm-hmm.
And sure enough, we find out the Herdsman recorded 3 gold records.
Yep.
So like he like very successful at what he did, but this also brings back to it. It's like, was he held to it, or did he come back to them because he actually has no like backbone?
Had no other options. Yeah.
No, I just think he has just no backbone. Like when it comes down to it, he'll always cave, but then he'll blame it on somebody else. He blames it on Guy. He blames it on like, where is everybody? Like, where's our bass player? Where's Lenny? Guy, where are like? It's always. That's Guy's fault. Oh, I'm throwing up because I have nerves because I'm going to be on TV. No, Faye gave me something. Mm-hmm. It's this faux genius kind of like I'm so great,
and it's like
the narcissism level on him is like not unrealistic, very realistic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's great as well for this kind of movie where they don't need a big bad villain.
Nope.
But he's like clearly the guy you're rooting against in this movie. Like we get behind Guy, we don't like Jimmy. And so by the end of this movie, we're happy because he's a little bit miserable. But he still gets a version of a happy ending himself.
Yeah. Nobody of the Wonders ends up like the closest thing is one of them is a like successful casino manager in
Vegas,
not in Vegas, like outside of Vegas.
Was it in Reno?
No, it was like in Eagle Ridge or something like that. Okay. So like a small casino outside of Vegas. He's the manager of.
Yeah.
And then he is single.
He is single.
And it's like, yep.
Yeah.
That fits.
Oh, that wedding that happened at the Vegas chapel with him like giving people the tips of his chips in his arms didn't work out for him. Shocker.
Yep.
But also, I like even that. Like, there's just so many great little beats in this movie. I love him going to Vegas, talking to everybody, being like, "Hey, can you like loan me some cash?" And Jimmy being like, "Ask Guy, he's gullible, he'll do it." And then immediately,
ask Guy, he's a sucker.
He's a sucker. And then Guy comes in and immediately is like, "Yeah, here you go. How much you need?" And he goes, give him a couple $100.
Here's 200.
Yeah, like chump change or whatever.
Change.
Yeah, it's and that's not because Guy's a sucker. That's because Guy's interest isn't in money. Guy's interest has been in the music from the beginning. Like, he's out there time and time again having the most fun.
Absolutely.
In the music scenes and stuff.
But he's also the most conscientious of like when they bring Guy gets brought in to meet Mr. White and says, "Here's everything." He says, "Sounds great, but I got to talk it over with the other guys." Mm-hmm. And it's at that moment Mr. White's like, "This is who I need to be talking to about band stuff," because like Horace was right. Like, this is the brains of the operation. Like,
yeah. And it's all, I mean, like, he is, again, the most mature of the group. He is the one most musically savvy, too, as we see. Like, he knows his stuff in terms of, like, the bands, the musicians that have come before him kind of thing.
When they're at the state fair and he's freaking out over just about everybody, Del Paxton, of course, is a great freak out, but what's his other name? The Mr. Downtown guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Freddie Fredrickson. That's it.
There you go.
You're very much your Sinatra, your like very much like supposed to be your like 50s kind of like like lounge singer type character, and he's the headliner for this state fair tour. He's like, he goes, "Oh my gosh," like I listened to like, and names all his records and everything, and like he loves the music and he loves musicians and he loves it, and it shows. Where does he end up? He and Faye open up like a music conservatory
in the Puget Sound.
Yeah. Just what, like, this is a story about that, like these four guys and Faye as they go on this crazy whirlwind adventure that changes their lives forever. Guy probably still ends up getting left by Tina because Tina falls in love with her dentist. Because she was going to go to that dentist no matter what. Yeah. So, like, instead of being like, "Oh yeah, Tina dumped me because she's with the dentist."
Oh, I mean, yeah, that happens. Theoretically, that happens in any timeline.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of it in the context of, oh, like he leaves and they're already broken up. Like it's not a
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, oh, she leaves him after he's on
Nope.
the road or anything.
It's like right before, and so it's right after their Pittsburgh show where they're signing. Right after that is when she it's kind of implied that she left them.
Yeah.
For the dentist. Because Faye talks about it to Mr. White, I believe, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really, really awesome. This movie is incredible. The cast is phenomenal. This is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, not everybody who came out of this movie, other than the one who entered it, a massive movie star, ends up having a classic movie star career, but they're all successful actors in their own right. It's all just brilliant character work.
It was very much like the guy who plays Jimmy is the only one that I feel like I haven't really seen in other things, but looking through his IMDb, like he's done plenty. It's just not things that I watch or things that like I would recognize. Whereas everybody else, I was like, this was probably the first thing I saw Steve Zahn in, and have loved Steve Zahn in everything else that I've seen him in since. And a lot of that comes from like how much fun he is in this movie. And like he's clearly just having the best time, which like there's so much to be said about that. Like he's obviously that's the role he's put in this movie to play, but the fact that he's playing it so well and is clearly just having like the way he chews into like who's your favorite band? Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. He just loves that. Like
the smart ass remarks he always makes are just such great ones.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
he's the perfect foil to Jimmy too. On top of that,
absolutely,
Jimmy is so self obsessed and so like my music is art and it's important, and Lenny's just like, guy, like I just want to play music and have fun.
Yeah.
As long as I possibly can, and clearly that's what he does.
every time he says, "Yeah, we're the Oneaters."
It's so good.
or it's pronounced Oneaters.
Because he clearly has not liked that. It's like because when he shows it's like wonders. But that spells
looks like
Oneaters.
And so when everybody else reinforces it, and he gets to kind of do the like "I told you so," he doesn't gloat in it directly, but like he gloats in it every other way he can.
And then finally when he goes, by the way, we're dropping the wonders, it's just wonders.
Mm-hmm.
And like you see Lenny just go, finally. Okay. Like, yep. If he goes, the fact that like we signed as the Oneaters is ridiculous. But I love that. That's one of the things that makes this movie great is how the Oneaters become the Wonders. It's it really captures this feeling of like 60s rock and roll. Oh, these poor young guys got taken advantage of by a record label.
Mm-hmm.
At the very end, he goes, "I'm so sorry, Mr. White." He goes, "Relax, guy. Nobody's going to prison."
As, like, I love that, like, this so wonderfully lines up with the, like, classic, VH1 behind the music, rise to fame.
Yes.
That has become, like, Oscar-winning formula for movie. Like, this is very much the Bohemian Rhapsody, storyline. It's Walk the Line. It's like, here's the rise and fall of the band, The Wonders. Like, this could have absolutely just been, and maybe they even did do it as like a fun parody VH1 behind the music episode, but like it could absolutely be a behind the music parody episode of The Wonders.
I think the fact that it's not a parody though, there's something earnest about it. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's just like it's having fun with it, and I think in the same way that what was it? What was it that we did a while ago that was like, that the guy who Angels in the Outfield, when we did that, like when we looked and saw that College Humor like 30 for 30 Angels in the Outfield thing, and like the kid was actually in it kind of thing. It was like it would be that kind of thing where like it could still be absolutely sincere, but it just has all the hallmarks that we saw in so many of those. But the thing I really want to call out, and it's probably like the last big like favorite moment I want to celebrate on this. So if you have any others, feel free to weigh in. Like the pure joy of the sequence of them hearing their song on the radio for the first time. Like,
that's
everybody hearing the song on the radio for the first time. Like we know it's coming. Faye's listening to her radio. TB's listening to his radio. Faye hears it and starts flipping out, catches TB. it starts, they're flipping out. They go to the music store and bring it to Guy and throw it on all the records and on all the radios in there. And then we get the car pulling up that has Jimmy and Lenny in it. And they've clearly also been freaking out, and they just dance around the Victrola or whatever. And it's just so such unadulterated and pure joy.
Yes.
And it is like every time you hear, an artist talk about, that moment they heard themselves on the radio for the first time and freaking out and stuff like that. It is that distilled into its purest and most beautiful form. And I just every time I see that scene, it's it's just, I can't not smile. It's so wonderful and lovely. And it's probably one of my favorite sequences of the film, just because of how visceral that feels. And even knowing what is to come, it's this, and in this moment, they are all at the top of the world.
Yep.
Nothing's ever going to be bad for them.
That is honestly what should have been the Hollywood Showcase, should have been their triumphant moment. Turns out to be the moment of their end.
Yeah. It is the I was, as we're nearing the end of the film and we've been seeing the song climb the charts, I had to your, Shazam implanted memory, I had am I remembering correctly, or is this something I've made in my mind that they're gonna go on the show and they break up, the end of that night basically, and then the next day they get the Billboard chart that has them at number 1 now, and it is the idea that obviously we don't get that. The highest we see in the film is them at number 7. We get in the liners notes apparently that they made
number 2
all the way to number 2, but I had that that would be the, I think, an expected level of the melodrama of this story if it was they're at the top of the world, but they've already broken up. I think that would fit incredibly thematically. I'm perfectly fine that they don't do that. They don't go that full in on the metaphor there or whatever.
Oh, for sure. But I also think that the climbing the charts is a narrative device to explain why they leave the tour and go to LA.
Sure.
It's a narrative piece, and it's important to the narrative of the story, because that's the device that leads them to, now they're propelled up to the upper echelons. But it's not the driving thing. It's not none of them say we're going to get to number 1. Remember, can't wait to go to number 1. None of those setups for what you were thinking of, right? But sorry, I downed too much Dr. Pepper too quickly. Excuse me. But that's not the point. The point is, and I think if any of them were driven for number 1,
they didn't need to be a number 1 artist for their story to still have a bit of tragedy and heartbreak to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's part of it too. It's they never expected any of this. Mm-hmm. It just happened to them.
Yeah.
And there's something magical about that.
There is that lovely moment of number 90, he hands them the thing, number 93, they read and oh God, we're number 93. And then they just, go up from there kind of thing.
I think one of my absolute favorite scenes is we see the end of the Wonders in the studio, and says, "Hey, Mr. White, can this is my first time in a real studio. Can I just stay here for a bit?" And he says, "Yeah, but remember, you're at the hotel this afternoon."
Yeah.
Make sure you get your stuff so you don't lose it. Mm-hmm. But book the studio for the day, so go for it. And that level of kind of solitude that he's in, and then it reminds me at the beginning of the film, okay, my day job is done. I'm now going to blow off some steam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he sits down and he starts just playing the drums. Not that thing you do, not the stuff he did with Wonders, just jazz.
Yep.
Just a jazz riff. And just going off to the point, and he's so good. The record producer who was supposed to be doing his job, but he's well, I got paid for the time anyway, so I'm just hanging out. Mm-hmm. Here's this, and after it goes,
do you want to put that down?
Do you want to put that down?
Yeah.
No, I was just messing around. What do you call that?
Yeah.
I am Spartacus, which has been his I am doing that, making several of his off one-liners are in reference to the movie Spartacus.
Yeah.
When he asks oh, you're so saying oh, if you're asking who I am, I'm so and so. And that's Spartacus's right-hand man in the movie. And so it's this entire thing of that's his reference. And so that's the clinching it, and he goes, do you want to lay that down? He goes, oh no, I was just messing around. He goes, oh, okay. And
we've gotten to see, I do love the framing of that like we've seen from the perspective of that engineer Del come in and like we don't know it's necessarily Del. Like if you've seen the movie, you know it's Del. But like the moment of like, yeah, Del's there to record something too, and overhears the whole thing, and yeah, it is a beautiful. It feels so in a concert with La La Land, or also like there's also. It never gets to this extreme, but I also found myself thinking occasionally of Whiplash because of this, because of just and I think in particular both Whiplash and La La Land are Damien Chazelle's like love letters to jazz.
Yeah.
So this that has such a little heavy subplot of jazz, of course I'm gonna like tie those together.
Sure. But I think for me it's the narrative of. Guy has gone on this journey. He's been good and true to his goal, to his band. Like he has been good and true and like our hero of the story. This is his actual reward. Mm-hmm. Faye's not a reward.
Yeah.
The reward is
the reward is the masters he's holding in his arms when he comes back to the hotel and sees Faye.
Yep. Because
like, I recorded stuff with Del Paxton. It's amazing. Yeah. Like he's over the moon.
How many of those also are there? Like, so they didn't just do one song. They recorded a bunch.
Yeah.
To the point where Del and him talked, and Del's like, you can have a real future right here as a studio musician, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know the right hook. Like, immediately, like, and here's the thing, I would not have past Mr. White to have made a call or like saw Del and being like, yeah, by the way, like I could have seen that on like the cutting room floor, not of being shot, but of like the screenplay of like.
Yeah. I mean, because we get the line that like he was there recording with somebody else in the other studio. So yeah, maybe it was hey, we've got these people coming in. Del, you mind coming in and sitting in with them, and also swing by. I want you to meet these kids, the Wonders.
Yeah.
not knowing that. Well, I mean, Mr. White wouldn't have any reason to have known that that Guy had just met Del, a night or two before.
True. I think that's part of it as well. It's like, it's this kismet universal.
But he also talked about Del enough
a lot.
In front of Mr. White that of course Mr. White
when he mentions him when he says who he popped your chair to, he says, oh yeah, and he says, oh, and Del Paxton. You see Mr. White kind of like raise his eyebrows, like, okay,
yeah,
like. It's and also this also, oh, you're the smart guy, so you love jazz. That's a total Tom Hanks like pull for him because he's a jazz lover. But no, I think this is like, it's Guy's reward is the Masters. It's the future in LA as a musician. And when he like and this is what makes Guy work as our hero is when Faye's going back, Guy's not going to make a move on her. He knows she just broke up with Jimmy. He's not going to be a sleaze. Like he's not going to like, is it clear he has feelings for Faye? Absolutely. But is he going to act on them in this moment? And it's not until Lamar gives him the push that he needs.
Yeah.
And it's not a blanket confession of love. It is not like I've always been in love with you. It's what she said. One of the things that she said,
I've wasted thousands of kisses on you. Yeah.
Shame on me for having my eyes closed so tight. And when he goes up to her, it's not like oh, hey, like you should be with me. It's, when was the last time you were truly properly kissed? Because clearly you've given thousands of kisses to somebody who didn't kiss you right, who didn't treat you right, which is also the way of saying like, when was the last time you were treated well?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I don't know. And then he kisses her. And
she says like, probably this guy, like,
yeah, eighth grade.
Whatever, like super young story kind of thing.
And then he kisses her, and then he stops, and he pulls back, and he just lets her, like, there you go. If this is, like, our farewell, it's our farewell. And then she goes back and starts kissing him. And it's very much it says so much with just being a kissing scene.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when she cuts Jimmy out of that photo of the three of them, and she, like, looks at it, and it's like, yeah, he's been there the whole time. And so it's like, she says, come back, like, look me up if you ever come back to Erie. And he said, the first thing he says, yeah, we'll listen to records together. Right there. There's not a, like, not a, oh yeah, I'll look you up because I can look you up. It's, we can listen to records together. Like, we both love music. We can do this together. And it's just, yeah, and then it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. This is not a love story. Well, there is a love story. It's a love about music, right? That's the premier thing. The love just happens to be like a cherry on top.
Yeah.
She's not a reward. She's not the thing that he gets at the end of the movie because he's been a good guy. In fact, being pushed, being like, hey, stop being the good guy and start being like, be a little more shades here. Just awesome. Awesome stuff. I love that. The entire ending is just one of my favorites. Also, cutaway to where Lenny is getting married in Vegas. Just the pop camera with the bulbs and everything. Just, it's perfect.
Also, I
TV
do have
player
to,
at Disneyland.
I do have to shout out, the TV player at the on the Matterhorn, like with Mickey behind him.
Mickey and Goofy.
Yeah.
By the way,
and all of the other, like all the military,
the Marines.
folks,
Yeah. Also, fun note: credited as themselves, Mickey Mouse and Goofy.
Yeah, I almost threw that into the cast trivia, or the cast stuff, but I did want to also shout out to, and this definitely would have been something I wouldn't have picked up on way back when, because I just didn't know that was a term or anything like that. But I love that Mr. White's response to TB enlisting isn't like, well, we're screwed. It is, and you, Semper Fi.
Yeah, I love that. It's just perfect because it's like, I respect that you've made that decision. Semper Fi.
We've got you for a couple months. We're gonna do.
Yep.
We're gonna do. Like, he's kind of already got the, like, we're gonna do what we can with this with the time. Like, I don't think.
And he had a replacement the moment they needed.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't think Mr. White is like signing this deal with them thinking they're going to be around 3 months from now anyway.
Nope.
Like,
it's very clear by his disdain of their entire tour on the state fair that he sees this as babysitting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into the report card. We grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give this one, Cam?
I'm happy to say this movie holds up so well. It's an A+.
It's an A+ for me too. Yeah. I like, this was such a fun delight. Thank you for recommending it. It was a lot of fun to go back and revisit this one that, I just had not done so in a while. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. The recommendations are going to be Walk the Line, Mr. Holland's Opus, Father of the Bride Part 2, Cars Tune, Heavy Metal Mater.
What?
A 7-minute Mater short where Mater joins a heavy metal band.
Okay, all right.
Jonas, the Jonas Brothers series.
Okay.
Queen Rock Montreal, a remastered concert that Queen did in Montreal, and Glee. So yeah, it was a good first half, and then it just kind of goes all over the place in the second half there. Extracurriculars, you watching anything else on Disney Plus there, Cam?
Yeah, I'm watching Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm catching the latest episode later tonight when I am back at my folks' house. It is on the docket for this evening.
Cool. I finished my rewatch of How I Met Your Mother this last week, and have also watched the
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yeah, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, thank you. Sorry, my dad texted that he's like on his way over, and so I'm just trying to be like, hey, we're recording a podcast, so don't like interrupt. Anyway. And then I'm trying to think, did I watch anything else? Yeah, I don't think so. I like, not Disney Plus, but I did, like, I was looking for something to watch Monday night, I think. I was like Uncharted was like one of the top movies on HBO Max, and I was like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll throw on the Uncharted movie and just kind of like let that play while I was like doing other stuff. It's fun, silly thing that holds up, just fine. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk all about that thing you do. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a massive shout out to our most recent That Nerdy Site show. We were able to record one.
Yep, we talked about our most anticipated things of 2025, most anticipated games coming up. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool stuff coming out this year. Like putting the list together was like, oh yeah, there's a good chance this year's going to be awesome as well. So let's go. Yeah. You can follow me at trevorjstarkey.peaceguy.social. And the thing I'm going to shout out is next week's episode of That D Plus Show, which we're going to select right now. And I'll remind you, Cameron, that this is going to be the episode going live on February 14th next week. So the 3 options I have that I think are a fun 3 options, and I'll go with whichever one you want to choose. They are Talladega Nights, Titanic, and 500 Days of Summer. Which of those do you want to be our Valentine's Day episode for next week's show?
Oh, shit, it's Valentine's Day. Listen, I know what answers we should go with, but if you're not first, you're last.
So is that
Talladega Nights? Let's go, baby.
That's going to be an interesting one because it was on there on the I don't
anticipate
new or if it's just like it got thrown into my recommendations. I've only seen Talladega Nights once, so I was like, all right, sure, and it was I figured that was the way you would go.
Oh yeah,
but I was like, well, Titanic is up there on the front page because it's new to Hulu Plus or new to Hulu, and then 500 Days of Summer. I was like, well, that's a funny one to do for Valentine's Day.
The one that's not a romance movie,
exactly, especially with the more critical eye that we've put to the movie compared to how I would have, probably, thrown flowers for that movie when it originally came out. It's like, oh no, Tom is a bad guy in that movie.
Yep.
he's not doing anything right.
My personal feelings.
He's not a bad guy, Summer is not the bad guy of that movie.
She makes it very clear from the very beginning what she's expecting, and when he wants more, she pulls out.
Yep.
I've been very critical of that movie for years.
Yeah, Tom in that movie is the anti-guy in this movie.
Yeah,
Guy is everything we want our male protagonist to be. No toxicity in Guy Patterson, but Tom from 500 Days of Summer. I mean,
I have a real problem with also the ending of 500 Days of Summer, where it's he's like, oh my gosh, he's learned so much.
He doesn't learn his lesson at all because autumn.
Yeah. Day 1 of autumn. It's like, come on, man. You did you put in the work. You got so much better. You grew.
It is the writing of that one. The writer from the jump basically being like, and fuck this person who broke my heart or whatever. It's like, oh man, that's bad. That's
bad
a bad
energy.
Thesis for this movie.
That's a bad vibe for this film, man.
When JGL is your just kind of insert character for you, and it is I forget the guy, the guy from season 1 of Fantasy High, who's like, I'm just a good guy, and
the pixie guy.
Yeah, the pixie guy. That Siobhan just tears a new one.
Yep. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna let you know right now. You don't I have a lot to offer girls. I'm gonna let you know you don't.
You think you do, but you don't. Try to take this the right way. Hard to see a good way to take that. Yeah. Great interplay with her and Brennan on that one. Yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway, so shout out to Talladega Nights, going to be our episode next week.
Let's go.
It'll be interesting to see that one because
there's romance in that movie.
There's a reason I only watched that movie once, and I was not the biggest fan of it in the theater.
Listen, I just have to let you know there are so many movies that throughout my high school life were personality traits of me. Unfortunately,
sure.
Hot Rod.
Jesus, Hot Rod. Okay.
Yeah, Anchorman. And my junior and senior year were dedicated to Hot Rod.
You should go and listen to, because I've never seen Hot Rod, but the Lonely Island podcast that I've been listening to with Seth Meyers did 2 episodes on Hot Rod and did their behind the scenes because they did that the summer after their first season at SNL was when they filmed it, and then they released it the second summer after their second season.
You have to understand,
and it tanked and did badly.
Here's the thing. I saw it in theaters, and I said to myself, this is one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. It perfectly captures the absurdist humor that I love to the nth degree.
I think you would really like the 2-part
I probably will. I probably will enjoy that. There's that. Also, Talladega Nights was one of them. Anchorman and Hot Rod.
This I remember seeing this and being like, well, that didn't hit the
and
height.
Blades of Glory.
That as much as I love John C. Reilly can do no wrong in my eyes, and he's great in this. But Will Ferrell is very hit or miss for me, and I basically walked out of this being like, that was no Anchorman.
It certainly isn't, and I think that's
And I mean, it's what he was going. He's going for a very different tone, obviously, with Ricky Bobby. But yeah,
no, it's just
especially
Talladega
also
Nights just has one of the best lines of all time, and I'll tell you about it next week when we do it. But
sure,
it is just the pinnacle of the absurdist humor that these films have.
There was also an element like because my dad growing up, like he would watch the NASCAR races on Sunday, and that would be something that he would put on, and I would, join him, and like we'd watch, a number of races and stuff. I remember, Dale Earnhardt stuff. I remember when I think it was Dale Earnhardt Sr. crashed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I remember watching that crash.
That's crazy. I just remember the memorial plates they kept selling everywhere afterwards.
Yeah. So like there was an element of like, they're poking fun at this thing that my dad and a lot of people really love. And I didn't know, and it'll be interesting to go back and like watch to be like, are they doing it with love or are they doing it and punching down?
That's a good point.
So it'll be interesting to sit down and watch some Talladega Nights.
Also, I'm recalling now there's I'm waiting for a very potentially homophobic thing with Sacha Baron Cohen's character that I'm now remembering.
Yeah, that sounds like a Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
character.
We're gonna find out. Okay,
we'll see. When we get to the how does it hold up, we'll have some answers. So yeah. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. If you like what you heard, please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed. Outro clap in 3, 2, 1.